leprosy, right, in which there are patches seen on the skin space for themselves. So that space is referred as earth cave. So you have to admit, it may seem to us that we have done it perfectly, but it is going to be an illusion. This poem has been written by Gieve Patel, Indian writer and poet. He is an active member of a group that is working to protect environment. Now you must wonder that in this poem, poet is describing that what is the actual process one should follow in order to kill a tree. And if he is an environmentalist, then why he is writing such poem? Actually, this poem is written in a sarcastic manner to make us realize that killing a tree is not an easy task. You need to be extremely cruel in order to kill a tree. And this is how he just want us to realize that human aspect that we must have, because tree is also a living organism. Right? And there are multiple in-depth meaning of the poem as well that we will discuss. So let's begin with the text part, and here we have our first stanza. It takes much time to kill a tree. Not a simple jab of knife will do it. So in the very first line itself, poet says that it is not an easy task at all to kill a tree, right? If you are going to give it a zap means a sudden blow with a sharp thing. So if you are going to give it a cut with an axe, it is not going to kill that tree. It has grown slowly, consuming the earth, rising out of it, feeding upon its crust, observing years of sunlight, air, water, and out of its leprous hide sprouting leaves. So very beautifully here poet is describing process that how a tree actually grows, right? And this process is as much time taking or as much difficult as the phase of growth for human being. Just like human being grows from an infant to a toddler, then a child, then teenager and adult, and that is how tree also grows in many years. And there are many factors that are included to ensure the growth of the tree. So here it is mentioned that how does a tree grow? It grows slowly, consuming the earth. Why? Because earth is the major source of its nourishment, to have water and to have nutrition, right? So it slowly grows out or sprout out of earth, right? Rising out of it, that means sprouting, feeding upon its crust. And what is the medium of its feeding and nourishment? That is the outer layer of the earth. Observing years of sunlight, that means this tree is continuously consuming sunlight, air and water, and out of its leprous hide sprouting leaves. And further here also poet is giving some human attributes to this tree, and he says leprous hide. So this word leprous is related to a disease, that is leprosy, right, in which there are patches seen on the skin, or we can say that skin get discolored. In the similar manner, the bark of the tree, you are going to see that it is also discolored. You are not going to find even color everywhere, right? Somewhere you will find that it is dark, somewhere it is light. That is why it is called leprous hide. So from that part, what is visible? Sprouting leaves, green leaves are visible. So here purposely poet is explaining the process and the steps that are included in the growth of the tree. We human beings thoughtlessly just cut them down, right? But their process of growing is as difficult as the growth of human beings. So this is the surface meaning, right? If we talk about depth meaning, so first of all we may associate it with the social evils. It is true that even in today's era, there are many social evils present in the society. If we want to end them, what we are supposed to do? Merely criticize them verbally? No, that mere verbal criticism won't do, because this evil was in the society from long time, and since many people were following, supporting the social evil, that is why this evil has got his growth and it has got its nourishment, right? So it is not easy to end any evil so easily, right? This is the second meaning. And if we go for the third meaning, same time poet conveys one more beautiful message, that whenever we begin with the task, we are supposed to do it completely. Half-hearted approach won't bring us success in that particular task, right? So let's proceed further, and we are going to see the meaning of two words here. First word is jab, that means sudden rough blow, and next word is leprous, that means resembling leprosy. And I have already explained you, leprosy is a kind of skin disease, right? Let's proceed, and here we have our next stanza. So hack and chop, but this alone won't do it. So sometimes what do? That we just cut the bark of that tree and we chop the wood. But is it sufficient to kill a tree in a complete manner? No, that is why he's saying that hack means again a sudden blow, and chopping of the wood won't do, right? Not so much pain will do it. Even if you are going to give this tree extreme pain, but still it is not sufficient to end the life of the tree. That means here poets want to convey that whenever we are cutting tree, actually we are causing them pain, right? Further, the bleeding bark will heal. Very beautiful line. Whenever we human being get a cut out of any sharp object, we start bleeding. In the similar manner, when we cut a tree and that produces sap, right? A liquid substance that is said to be bleeding here, right? So we leave that bark bleeding, that sap is coming out. That is why again a human attribute to the tree, so we may feel concerned about trees, right? And from close to the ground will rise curled green twigs, miniature boughs, which if unchecked will expand again to former size. Now you can see in the picture as well that this part of the tree is cut and this part is left. Now this part which is nearby the earth, means the root and the below part of the tree, what will happen? That it will regrow again, right? From close to the ground will rise curled green twigs, new soft branches will sprout, miniature boughs, small branches will also came out. If unchecked will expand again to the former size, and if someone is not going to keep eye on it, it will grow again in a full tree, right? So this is what he wants to convey, that even the trees are living organism and they have this power to regrow. Just like we human being, if we get any sort of wound or injury, it is not going to end our life. When our life is going to end? When there something wrong happen with our heart and mind, because these are the body part, because of that our survival is possible, right? So small injury and wound is not going to end our life. Likewise, if you are going to cut the bark of the tree, it is not going to end its life, because roots are still there, which is going to provide it strength and it may regrow, right? So this is the surface meaning again, right? We can see the human perspective shared here when we say that bleeding bark, right? And further, if we talk about the depth meaning, so again it means that if you are going to merely criticize that social level, or the government is going to make certain rules about that social level, it is not going to end that social evil. Why? Because indulgence of the common people is still essential. So if you are not taking care or you are not keeping a close eye on that social level, there are fair chances that it will regrow and it will again spread in the society, right? Likewise, if we leave any task incomplete, or if we do any task half-heartedly, it is quite possible that we have to bear its consequences and we have to do that task again from the beginning. Right? Here also we are going to discuss some word meanings. So here we have some words. Chop means to snap, curled means twisted, and miniature means small. So let's proceed towards the third stanza of the poem, and here we have third stanza. No, the root is to be pulled out. So, in this particular stanza, poet is explaining that in order to kill a tree completely, what all things are required to be done. So, he says, no, the things that is mentioned in the first two stanza are not sufficient to kill a tree. Right? So, he says the roots is to be pulled out. In order to kill a tree completely, you are supposed to pull out that roots. Out of the anchoring earth, that roots that were there, that kept the tree bounded with the earth. So, you have to uproot it. Anchoring earth, the earth that was supporting the growth of that tree. Right? It is to be robbed, tied and pulled out, snapped out or pulled out entirely out from the earth cave. Right? So, what you have to do, you have to tie a rope around its bark, right? Then you have to pull it out with all your strength, right? Snapped out, that means you have to end it completely or pulled out entirely right from the deep roots, out from the earth cave. So, earth cave is a reference for the space that is made by the roots in the earth, right? So, it is quite possible that since roots are there from the long time in the earth, so they make some space for themselves. So, that space is referred as earth cave. So, you have to drag that roots out of those caves, right? And the strength of the tree exposed. So, once you pull out those roots, you will come to know about the real strength of the tree. And what is the real strength? Real strength lies in their roots, right? The source, it was the source for the nourishment and growth for the tree. White and wet, and since roots are there from long time underground, that is why they are generally white in color. Though we found them along with the dust, we think that they are brown or they are having some muddy color, but actually they are white in color. Wet, why so? Because from long time they were absorbing moisture. That is why you will find that they are wet, right? The most sensitive, and you will come to know, though these roots were holding this tree from a long time and bounding it, but still it is the most sensitive or delicate parts, right? Hidden for years inside the earth, and they remain hidden in earth from a long time, right? So, you have to again understand the deep meaning. And the deep meaning is that you have to find out the reason of any social evil first of all, and you have to end that reason, then only you will be able to end that social evil. For example, if I say that child marriage is a social evil, so what we have to do? We have to work on its root. And what is the root? Lack of proper education. So, in order to ensure that there should not be any child marriage in the society, first of all, you are supposed to ensure this thing, that there must be sufficient literacy. People must be aware about the wrong result of child marriage, then only you may think to end this evil. So, you have to focus on the root cause and you have to end that root reason, then only you will be able to get rid of that social evil, right? So, this is the process that he has described. Again, if we correlate with the human being, what you are supposed to do whenever you are provided with the task, you are supposed to do it from core, right? Core of your heart. You have to make sure that what is the beginning part of the task and what is the ending part of this task, and you have to achieve all the steps gradually. You have to attain all the steps gradually, right? So, I hope even this stanza is clear to you. So, let's proceed further, and here we have next stanza. Then the matter of crouching and choking in sun and air, browning, hardening, twisting, withering, and then it is done. So, Here he continues with the process of killing that tree. That what you have to do, you have to tie a rope around its bark and you have to pull it out from the root. Now what you have to do, you have to let it dry in the sun, right? Scorching means intense heat of the sun. So you have to leave that tree in the intense heat of the sun, then it will start choking. That means it won't be able to survive, right? In sun and air, browning, and it's begin to attain its death. You will observe certain changes in it, right? It will start browning. That means bark was already brown, but now you will see that leaves are also turning brown. The green branches are also turning brown. Hardening, they will turn harder, right? Twisting, they will start twisting, right? Withering means fading of the color. So it is going to fade its color as well, right? And then it is done. So finally, if you follow all these steps, then the tree is going to die. So we will come to know that it is really very difficult process, same time insensitive process that we are supposed to follow, right? So we should not go for the cutting of a tree actually, because in long run we are supposed to bear the consequences, right? Likewise, if we go for the deeper meaning, in order to end a social level, you have to work on the root cause, and further, not only government but the common people must work hand in hand to end that evil. Then only this social evil will come to an end, right? And if I talk about human beings, that if they are indulged in a task, they have to go for the hard work. It may be very difficult for them at a time to continue with the task, but they have to bear that intense effect of their task and they have to do it completely, right? So I hope that you are able to understand this complete poem. And you have to keep one thing in mind, that poet is purposely describing her process of a killing tree in order to make sure that some sensitive, we must have some sensitive feeling towards that tree. We must understand that the way human being takes time to grow, in the similar manner, trees also take time to grow. It is a gradual process. It is a difficult process. So we should not cut them thoughtlessly, right? So till here we have discussed the poem, and now we are going to discuss literary devices or the poetic devices that have been used in the poem. So the very first literary device is enjambment. So the sentences are being continued to the next line without a break. That means you are not going to see use of any punctuation mark like comma or full stop at the end of many lines. So this is called enjambment, and why it is required? For the free flow of the language and thought, such devices required, right? So it has been used throughout the stanza. So in various stanza of the poem, you are going to see use of enjambment, means there is no punctuation mark at the end of line, right? Next we have imagery. Yes, so this poem is also having sense of imagery, right? Because we are able to visualize, we are able to imagine what has been described in the poem, right? So the poet has given the detailed visual description about the growth of the tree in the last 6 lines of the first stanza, right? Even we may imagine when poet is saying that you are supposed to tie a rope around the bark and you have to pull it with complete strength, right? Next literary device that is used is metaphor. So metaphor is what? Comparison between two objects because of some similarity. So here a device which compares two things or qualities which are unlike. So here we have the example. The poet has compared the discoloration of the bark with the skin disease leprosy in humans by using face leprosius hide. So this thing I have discussed with you, that it is a disease in human being, and why poet is using it for the bark? Because it is discolored, it is having uneven color in it. That is why it is described so. Next, use of phrase anchoring earth. So earth called to be anchored for the roots of the tree, right? Okay, let's proceed further, and here we have use of next device, that is alliteration. So it is a repetition of a letter at the starting, closing placed words, especially consonant sounds, right? It takes much time to kill a tree. So you can see use of T word. Likewise, when we say bleeding bark, so there is repetition of B letter here. Next device that we have is personification. So personification, when inanimate objects are imposed with human qualities, behavior, actions, etc. So obviously here tree is personified in throughout the poem. Right? The poet has personified the trees throughout the poem as using the word bleeding for them. Right? So we have discussed literary devices as well, and now it is time for us to discuss the message conveyed through this poem. So as I have told you, it is a very sensitive poem. So there are threefold meanings or the message that we withdrew out of this poem. So here, first one, the poem conveys that the tree is a living and powerful organism, just like human being. They also have power to regrow. I have explained this thing to you, that if we are injured or we are wounded, our life didn't come to an end. In the similar manner, if you are going to cut a tree from its bark, it is not going to end, right? It has life and feelings just like human being. That is why the poet has used bleeding bark word in the poem. The growth of a tree is no less than growth of human being. This thing also I have explained you, that the way we go through the various phases, infant, toddler, childhood, teenager, adulthood, etc. In the similar manner, trees also pass through various phases, right? They are going to be sapling, then plant, then a full grown tree, and it is going to take many years to have a fully grown tree, right? And cutting down tree is nothing but killing a tree. So it is a task equivalent to the murder, because they are also living beings. So it is a very brutal task, cruel task actually. Right? So this is the first message, and here we have our second message. When we want to remove any social evil, yes, so second context is of social evil. It will be like well grown up tree. To stop immediately is impossible. That means only merely criticizing or only just thinking that we are going to end this evil, it is not sufficient. So only verbal criticism won't do. All need to work hand in hand. I have explained this thing to you. Government and common people, they are supposed to work hand in hand, right? And with the strict measures, only social evil may be uprooted. Right? This is the second message. And third message is about our tendency to leave any task incomplete. So here, one more underlying message is, poet wants us to do a job completely when we start it once. We should not drop it in mid. It may seem to us that we have done it perfectly, but it is going to be an illusion only, right? So here, but at times it is an illusion. Therefore, we should finish a task completely. So I hope you are able to understand this complete poem, all the literary devices, and this threefold message conveyed through this poem. So this is all for this particular video. Thank you, students. Take care. Bye-bye.